Today on the O&S Podcast, I'm so excited for you guys to hear this one. We have the one and only Chase Pettey. Chase has been named the adventure trainer. And the reason for this is he has a different tactic for his clients. Instead of setting weight loss goals or lifting goals, they set adventure goals. He takes them through the process of what it's like to climb a mountain or run a marathon, and that's their big why for what they're doing and what they're training for. And he's seen a lot of success in that. And we talk everything from nutrition to training to his goals in life and the mountains he wants to climb. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear this one. Please enjoy this podcast with the one and only Chase Pettey. Well, Chase, welcome to the O&S Podcast. It's good to have you on here. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Kind of like we were talking about this morning, we just met. So I'm excited. 3 days later, here we are.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things that I'm like, we had that meeting, I think it was like an hour and a half, and just, I was like, I got to get this guy on the podcast. There's just too many good stories, good vibe. And I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Well, yeah, like you said, it started off a 30-minute meeting, then it went to an hour, then an hour and a half, and it was like, all right, well, I actually got to go, but we could have just talked all day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, all right, let's pause this conversation and let's do it in the podcast studio. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I know it's going to be a good conversation, and I'm honestly just excited to get to know you more.
Yeah. We're going to take everybody on that tour. So, right, just that getting to know you. So I wanted to talk a little bit more, just start off with your training style, because that was one of the things we talked about in our earlier conversation. It's like you have a very unique approach to training and fitness. Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So again, this is my subject. So if I start rambling, you got to just stop me.
No.
This is my passion. So I just go. But yeah, I think I have a different approach as far as I feel like a lot of people in the fitness industry use that sense of lack of self-worth or that fear to kind of motivate somebody like, hey, you don't look good enough, or hey, yeah, you need to lose that weight, or hey, you're not strong enough, or you do need to put on muscle, kind of using those insecurities they already have in a way to motivate them, where I try to already give them the self-worth and help them understand that this is a growth, this is a fitness journey, not a sprint. And I know you see it all the time, like this is a 30-day transformation, 60-day transformation. I'm like, you ain't transforming anything in 60 days, maybe your body, but you're not going to transform in 60 days or 90 days. So I try to motivate people through adventures, which we've talked about a little bit. People call me the adventure trainer for that reason, but I try to give somebody a tangible goal that gives them that drive of, here's a checkpoint. In 90 days, I'm going to do this amazing adventure that is going to help me spring forward through the rest of my journey. Think about growth in a sense of whether it's within your relationships, within your job, whether you're a father, whatever it is, you love things in life that give you self-worth, give you fulfillment, give you a sense of purpose. And that same thing goes for fitness journey. If you don't have a why or a purpose to why you're going to the gym every day for an hour or two, eating the right foods, doing all those things, if there's no why to that, that's why a month in, you're like, why am I doing this? Because there's no purpose. There's no why to why you're doing that every single day. There's nothing to drive you. And so I try to give them a why during their fitness journey. And don't get me wrong, that first adventure, that first thing we set, they have so much self-doubt, insecurities throughout these 90 days. But man, the minute they cross that finish line, whether it's an obstacle course race, climbing a mountain, standing on the surfboard that first time on a wave, whatever that amazing thing is, they finally get that feeling that I've been talking about that whole entire journey, which is, gosh, this rush of happiness, this rush of like, I did it. I crossed that finish line. There was that light at the end of the tunnel. Oh my gosh, this is the best feeling ever. And then they want to chase that feeling for the rest of their life. Because that's a feeling they're like, well, I know how to achieve this feeling now. This feeling of self-worth, it's right here. It's in this goal. So they chase that, and that's how they have a fitness journey now. It's, no longer this chase of looking better. If you lose 10 pounds, every person I work with is like, well, I want to lose 5 more, or I want to look even better. I want to look even, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's no checkpoint. So this gives them checkpoints, and that's something that can never be taken from them. That adventure, that new experience that they've taken on is with them for life.
Well, that's incredible because, even for myself in my fitness journey, like, I had this ideal look that I was trying to go for, and it never felt like I was getting there.
Yeah.
And that's really, it's interesting that you start with the why, because I knew that approach with business, but it's such a great goal or mentality to have throughout your entire life, in every area. Mm-hmm. And so having that why, having that big arrow that's pointing you in that direction. So what are some of the adventures that you've had clients, you've taken them through? What are some of your favorite ones that stick out in your mind?
That's a good question. Well, first off, I don't put people on adventures I haven't experienced myself first. Because I feel like I need to know what that journey's like, so I can actually relate with that person through that journey. Now, my favorite one is by far mountain climbing. Like on glacier mountains, like standing over top of the clouds and standing on top of a mountain. And, that's a metaphor we use in business and life, like climb that mountain, man, and so it was never on my radar to climb a mountain ever. It was a few years ago. I was training a few doctors and they're like, hey, we're gonna do a mountain climb. And I was like, what? Like, people do this? You see people do it, but you don't ever hear people climbing mountains, especially from Florida. Like we're in the flattest state of the US. So I'm like, all right, guys. So I researched a ton of it, like, breaking down the body mechanics of mountain climbing, and trained these guys for 4 or 5 months. And about a month out, they were like, Chase, we want you to come with us. And I was like, guys, I can't afford that. This is an expensive adventure. And they're like, no, like, we'll cover it. We want you to be there. You've been throughout this whole journey with us. We want you there to push us mentally when we're climbing that mountain. I was like, all right, I'm in. And there was 12 of us, and about half of us made it to the top. And, my clients and I made it to the top.
What mountain did you guys climb?
Mount Baker in Seattle.
Okay.
And they have this thing at the very end. So summit day, you wake up at 2 a.m. and it's blowing wind. Like, I have a video, it's pitch black, you can't see me, but I'm trying to talk, and you just hear the wind like 30 mile an hour winds. And,
what was the temperature?
Freezing. That's all I know. Really cold.
Yeah.
But your adrenaline's pumping so much that you almost don't even notice the cold. And it was a 14-hour day, going all the way to the summit. And you hit this wall on Mount Baker. At the very end, you hit this thing called the Roman Wall, and it's all of a sudden the mountain goes like this to this. And you're already shot. But anyways, we get to the top, and I had that rush that I was telling you about, just this adrenaline, this happiness, this fulfillment. And I was like, I need to share this feeling with the world. Like, everybody needs to know what this feels like. This is the best feeling in the world. And so I came off that mountain, and I was like, Chase Fit, like, here we go. Like, I started this adventure training, started a company, started all these things. And it was an amazing journey. And then from there, obviously I do obstacle course racing. We train people for surfing. We do hiking. We do snowboarding, skiing, pretty much all the adventures. And I always partner with another company that has guides or people that actually teach that adventure. Like, for snowboarding, I'm not going to teach you how to snowboard.
Especially here in Florida.
Yeah, right. Maybe go to the celery field.
There you go.
Yeah. So I just train people how to be strong and confident going into an adventure. And then we've partnered with a company that can help them learn the technical side of that sport. But at least then they're confident and they know that they're in the shape to be able to complete this new experience in their life.
So what are your focuses when you are training somebody, let's say for a mountain climb? I mean, obviously we don't have mountains here in Florida. We don't have the cold weather here. What are some of the things that you do to prep them for something like that without having the environmental aspects of those things?
No, of course. So I always start off with the physical first, because that's something somebody can feel. Like I said, we don't have the cold here, so I'm not like, hey, let me prepare you mentally for all the things that are going to be really hard, right? I don't want to give them too many reasons to not go after this thing. I want to wait till they're a little bit invested. So we start off with like, hey, you want to do a mountain climb? They kind of know what it is, but I don't get into it too much. And I'm like, all right, well, like, let's start training. So we do a lot of box step ups. What people don't realize is you traverse up a mountain. You're not walking straight up like this. So you have to work a ton of lateral movements. So we do a ton of abduction, ton of pelvis movements, tons of hips, because you're wearing a 60-pound pack loaded on your hips, and then you're walking like this up a mountain. So a ton of endurance work. So we do a lot of running. If somebody does have bad knees, it's just a ton of incline walking. So treadmill is somebody's life for a few months since we live in Florida. But you're wearing a pack, you're wearing your hiking boots because you're breaking them in.
So you do have them wear all the gear that they would be wearing on this hike. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, if they're with me at the gym I train at, it's a little bit quieter. But yeah, some of the people I train are at big box gyms, and I'm like, listen, you're gonna feel like a goof. But they're not going to think you're a goof when you come back and you have proof that you're standing on top of a mountain, man. Like, wear those boots to the gym and get on the treadmill. I know it seems weird walking into a gym.
I think I may have seen one of your guys at the gym. Like, what are they wearing?
Yeah, you probably did. Like, yeah, you're like, why is this guy wearing a huge pack and boots? Like, dude, come on, we're not in Colorado, right? But yeah, so there's a lot of attributes and things I have to add in because, again, we live here in Florida. But as we get invested, that's where I kind of teach them the environmental side of things. So I try to get them mentally prepared of like, listen, you're not having burgers and fries, you're cooking food at night, you're setting up a tent, you're going to be cold at times. Like we have a company we partner with where, these guys teach them how to pack their bag through videos. They teach them exactly what they should buy as far as clothes wise, because people don't realize there's base layer, there's first layer, there's second layer, and then there's people are like, what is all that? Like, what is all this stuff? So we do teach all those things throughout the entire experience.
Okay, so you're not just focusing on the physical endurance training, you're actually preparing them for a mountain climb.
Yeah, because think about this, if you could be in the best shape, right? Like, Ricardo, you're in great shape, man. Like, you could be in the best shape of your life, but if your fear of heights is way up here and I don't prepare you that, hey man, you're going to experience some heights during this. Like, those are going to happen. You're going to have moments of, if you're not mentally prepared that those will happen throughout that and it just hits you, it doesn't matter how what kind of shape you're in, you could just be paralyzed.
For sure.
And like that can just stop you right there. So I can get you in the best shape of your life, but if I don't mentally prepare you, as well as I do, mentality is everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When last summer I went to Alaska, and we did this really cool trek through the Mendenhall Glacier. So we took a kayak. It was about an hour kayak ride out to the glacier. Then we threw on our what are the spikes called?
Crampons.
Crampons. Yeah. And we put those on. We were in full dress, it's just
to the nine, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. With a pack, waterproof backpack, everything. And this, it was a small group of us. It was about like eight or nine of us, and we started trekking this glacier, which was unbelievable. Alaska is the most beautiful state outside of Hawaii that I've been to, and we just start walking up this glacier, and it was surprising how hard it was. Like you think like, oh, it's just, you're just walking, but no, it was like incredibly difficult to walk on this glacier. And it was just such a new feeling of like walking with those spikes on that. Yep. But you talk about being paralyzed. At one point, the guide sets up this rope, and like he takes these like spikes and he puts them into the glacier. Mm-hmm. And there was like this 70-foot cavern off the side of the glacier. And he sets up the ropes and he's like, all right, who wants to hang over? My hands were like shaking.
Sweaty. Even though you're freezing, like, how am I sweating?
Yeah, no, so I used the excuse, okay, I'm going to take everybody's picture as they're going. So I had to like...
Genius.
Yeah. So I watch everybody go first in kind of thing. And... I'm like, man, that there's just these little spikes in this ice that is holding you. And when it was finally my turn, like... Dude, I could not do it. Like I sat there, and because basically he wanted you to lean back on the rope and hang over.
And just hang over, yeah.
And it took everything with me. And like everybody's like, your rope's not even pulled tight. You need to lean back further. And I couldn't do it. Like it was one of those things. And I don't necessarily have a fear of heights, but I have a fear of dying. Like falling into a 70-foot cavern. Yeah. And I felt so bad because like everybody in the group pretty much did it except for me.
Was your wife with you? Did she do it? I just gotta ask. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So I did it. I have a picture that looks like I'm really, kind of leaning back, but just for that like slight second. Yeah. It was
that takes a lot, man, to just
Well, in prepping for that mountain climb, it's definitely something. It's something different. Like, even just mentally, I was like, yeah, no, I'll be fine. Like, I don't have fear of heights. I do roller coasters. I do whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's different. Being on a mountain, being on a glacier like that is definitely, it's definitely hard.
Yeah. It's exciting. Well, you were an athlete, right? Didn't you play sports and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think of that concept, right? Like whether you're a football player, baseball player, basketball player, whatever it is, when you're in high school, think, every Friday night I have a game. you're not going to just not show up to practice and not work out all week and be like, well, we'll see how this Friday goes. You're probably going to watch film. You're going to work out. You're going to be at practice. You may even stay after practice, take some of those extra shots because you want to be as prepared as possible for game day because you want to put that effort to use, right? What if you just had football season? You just went out and did 2-a-days every day, but you never had a game.
Right.
You'd be like, why am I here suffering after school every day?
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. Like, why go to the gym every single day if there's nothing to use it for, right? Put in all this effort, but why? So
do you ever use the health benefits as a bonus or as an end goal for somebody? Because climbing a mountain is incredible, standing up on a surfboard, whatever it may be. Do you ever use the health benefits as a driver as well? Like, or is that not something that a lot of your clients really care about, or is it actually just kind of a bonus?
Well, it's actually 100% of my clients come to me with that.
Okay.
Very little come to me. I mean, if I have like an online client, it's usually they come to me for adventure because that's how they've probably found me. If it's a local client or one-on-one, usually the conversation is, hey, I want to lose weight, but it'd be cool to do something else. But it always starts off with the health benefit of some sort. So, I mean, I will use it by all means. But I'll ask, we'll have a why conversation is what I call it. So for instance, like, with you, I'm like, hey, Ricardo, like, you said you want to put on some more muscle, right? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, why? And then again, I don't know this. Me and Carl didn't have this conversation. This is a made up conversation right now. And maybe you just be like, well, because I just want to look better. Like, okay, well, why? And then somebody else may be like, well, because I don't know, like, I just want to be more confident at work. Why? Well, if I'm more confident at work, then maybe I'll perform better and then maybe I'll get that promotion I've been wanting. Why? Well, if I get a promotion, then maybe I'll make a little better money and I can take my family on that vacation I've been wanting to do. Okay, so that's really why you're here.
So you just get to that deeper root.
That internal drive, because everybody has external drivers.
Right.
Everybody does, and that's always because we're not vulnerable beings, especially with somebody you first meet. Like, people don't want to just, hey, trainer, I'm going to be completely vulnerable with you. So I'm usually vulnerable with them, and I'll share my obstacles, like where I came from, like the tough times I had, and that'll kind of open them up like, okay, this guy's putting his walls down, right? So then I start asking that why question. I'll find the internal driver, and then I won't say a lot about it, but I'll keep a mental note like that's the why they're here. But I won't call them out on it yet because they don't know me well enough. So I'll come back to the reason why they said they were here, and we'll talk about that. But I know deep down this is the real reason why they're here, because he wants to be able to take his family on vacation because maybe he's working too much and he wants to show his family he cares, right? Like that's the internal driver. So yes, I'll use health benefits, but even for people, that's not their driver.
Yeah.
That's their external driver, but that's not their real driver.
So that's just, the health benefits kind of become like this byproduct of this larger goal.
Well, because think that's all the fitness journey sells, and today, like a lot of times we sell that you need to lose weight or, you need to be healthier, you need to put on muscle. Like that's how the fitness industry sells you. So you think that's your driver because that's how they sold you. Mm-hmm. Where really internally or subconsciously you're like, that sold me, but there's a deeper why to why I bought that. So by all means I will use it, but my goal is always to connect with my client. I just love getting to know people and connecting people on that deeper level because I believe in everybody I meet. When I first meet them, I'm like, I believe in you. I just believe in human beings in general because I think we all have this core inside of us that we all want to grow. We all want to be our best self. It's just at some point in our life, maybe it was an experience, maybe it was a person, but somebody told us you're not good enough to do X, or you're not good enough to do this, or you're not naturally athletic to play sports, right? Somebody in your life or an experience in your life gave you this self-doubt. So I'm there to remove that. Let's remove that self-doubt, and I'm gonna remotivate you and help you believe in yourself again. So I'm gonna be your motivator and your accountability. And I'm going to believe in you, even in the times you don't believe in yourself, because I know 60, 90 days from now, you're going to see that belief I had in you and yourself.
See, I agree with what you're saying. But for me, whenever anybody's told me I can't do something, you just lit a fire under my ass. Yeah. Now I'm going to really do it, and I guess it depends on the person and how they view adversity and how if they let that cripple them, yes, and if not, but yeah, anytime there's no way you could start a clothing company.
Yeah.
Watch me.
Oh, watch me. Yeah, yeah.
There's no way you're going to be able to, bench this or do this or play this sport. And it's like, okay, thank you.
Because I'm the same way.
Thank you for the fuel.
Yes, I'm the exact same way. So, and again, if I got to know you, like say we trained one time, I would learn that about you.
Yeah.
And I would use that for sure. Like if we were trained, I'd be like, man, Ricardo, I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't do 205 for 5 reps. I don't think you can do that. You'd be like, why? Yeah, again, I know you'd be like, oh, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do 6.
Yeah.
Just to show you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a book I read called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I've heard of him, but I haven't read that book yet.
Yeah, so he's this ultra marathon runner and just a crazy, crazy human being. Like he's one of the craziest mindsets I've ever. Yeah. And he wanted to qualify for this ridiculous race. It was like a 100-mile race it was called the Hurt 100. And so this marathon, it has this crazy elevation change through the race, and they run through the desert. So you're dealing with 110 degree weather while you're running.
Dehydration, all those things.
Oh, it's an insane race. And you have to run X amount of ultra marathons to get to be able to qualify for this one. And so he was talking to the organizer of the race. He's like, hey, listen, I'm a Navy SEAL. I've done a lot in my life. I went through BUDS 3 times. Like it's, I can do this. And he's like, he just laughed at him and was like, there's no way. He's like, I've heard plenty of guys that are just as hard as you, and they can't do it. And he's like, and basically it's a liability for him if he lets him run the race and the guy dies, the race could be squashed. Yeah. And so he's like, you're in wherever, San Francisco, wherever he is. And he's like, run this ultra marathon. It's this weekend. And so he does it without any training. He runs this 100-mile race, in his local town, and he just is describing all the pain. I mean, he breaks one of his feet, all his toenails fall off, and he gets to the 100-mile mark and he runs one more mile just to be sure. Yep. And so he does it. It's a 24-hour race, and he does it, and he in like 18 or 19 hours, Jesus. With no training. You know how difficult that would be. Gosh, I mean, I run 3 miles and I'm like, I think I'm dying.
Go ahead.
So he does it, and this crazy guy runs one more mile on top of 100 miles just to prove this guy hey, I can do this. And he was just he got he was pissing Coca-Cola, it was just, it was bad. He was eating saltine crackers the whole time, which I don't know why, and,
he's trying to get salt to his muscles from cramping.
That's what he had said, but it was just like, there's gotta be a better way than saltine crackers.
Like you're probably, your mouth's already dry.
Exactly.
You're eating saltines. Like, come on, man.
And Myoplex, super thick protein drinks. And he just wrecked his body. Yeah. But when he calls the guy, he's like super proud. He's like, hey man, I ran the race in 18 or 19 hours, and I actually did 101 miles. And he's like, well, David, it was a 24-hour race. Why'd you stop running at 18 hours?
Oh, man.
And so he's like, okay, yes, sir. I'll do another one. And so it's that mindset. I think that it's like, no matter what you put in front of me, if you're going to tell me something, I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah. I think that's a really valuable mindset to have. And if people can make that switch, that mindset change to where, there's a great quote, let the haters be your motivators, and I love that. Yeah. Because before it's not something that I've instinctively had. Yeah. It was something that, if somebody said I can't do something, I crumble and be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And then when you build that self-confidence in yourself and like this is a mind game, so much more than physical, it's mind. And if you can get over that, gosh, you're unstoppable. Yeah. I mean, you can do ridiculous things.
Yeah. And like you said, it truly is ridiculous. Like, and that's what I try to teach people. And I think that's when they do something amazing, like run 100 miles and didn't even train for it or whatever. Like they, again, he obviously still does it. Now he's one of the best ultra marathon runners. And it's because when he did that first one, he was like, okay, I can do this. I didn't even train for it. And I did it in X, like, I could be great at this.
Well, that was exactly what he talked. He's like, if I can do this, if I can finish this marathon without any training, what am I capable of?
Exactly.
Yep. And those are things that, like, when you say it's a mind game for anybody, there's times when I've been running to where I'll put a limit on what I can do. Like you can only run, a 5K.
Yeah.
But if I tell myself, no, you're going to run a 10K today.
Yeah.
I'll run a 10K. Yeah. Even though at the end of a 5K, I'm like heaving, I'm bent over, I'm sweating like crazy.
It'll be a sufferfest, but you'll do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's like those self limiters that we put on ourselves a lot of times, no matter where we are in our fitness journey. But if we can break through those, and it sounds like you help your clients do that. Yeah. You by asking why, let's find the root, let's find the big arrow of why you want to do this.
Yep.
And if they can keep that in their forefront, that can be the carrot that's dangling in front of them.
Well, and think about that, right? So, and a lot of times, again, clients don't know I'm doing this, but I use so many progressions throughout their journey to show them how they're advancing. So, for instance, take a scale, for instance. A lot of trainers, a lot of people use a scale as a way to help them gauge how fast they're progressing, how well they're doing on their fitness journey, so on. So, let's say somebody's overweight and like, I really want to lose weight. We all know in the first week, they're going to lose a lot of weight, probably 5 or 6 pounds, because they changed their diet. They drop tons of water because they're reducing sodium and sugar intake. So all of a sudden the water just kind of flushes right out of their body. That's 3 or 4 pounds right there. It may not even be weight. It may just be water. So when they say they lose 5 or 6 pounds, they probably lost 1 or 2. But it's so discouraging because the next week they lose 1 and they're like, well, what happened? I did the same thing. I lost 6 before, now only 1. Like, what happened? And then they go to the next week like, oh, I'm the same. And then maybe the next week, okay, only 1 again, or 2 or 3, whatever it is. But usually people don't even make it to week 4 or 5. Once they see that 6 went to 1, they'll try 1 more week and maybe it's only 1 again. And they're like, well, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Or they try to change it and they go on Google or whatever it is. And they're like, what's the best diet? Oh, wait, there's 300 diets. Or, hey, this person's saying to have this, but this person's saying why I shouldn't, right? There's so many things in the fitness industry. There's so much information that it's so difficult for somebody that doesn't know what to do to just gauge it and go. That's why I always try to tell people, listen, even if you're not going to work with me, if you end up doing this on your own, go to the fundamentals. I always use this metaphor. I'm like, listen, you weren't 5 years old and went to college, right? You went to elementary school, then you graduated junior high or middle school, then you graduated high school, then you went to college, and progressively the classes got harder. That's how your fitness industry is. Make it fun. Learn how to count 1 through 10. Learn your ABCs. Give yourself nap time. Like give yourself some recovery. Like make this a fun journey your first few years. Then graduate to middle school and start adding in some other variables that are more minute. And then let's go to high school and then to college. So most people just try to go to college because the information you get is from people that have been in the fitness industry for 8 or 10 years. So they're like, do this. And it's like, dude, you weren't even doing that 8 years ago. So why are you telling this guy that's never worked out to do that? So I think if people find a way to make it fun and just learn just the simple habits of just show up to the gym, man. Don't worry about getting an hour and a half workout in. Just show up and do 30 minutes. Just get in the habit of after work, I have my stuff, I've packed it up in the morning, I'm going to show up. That's the hardest thing. And I think we've all been there. You have those days you're like, I do not want to go to the gym. But you go and then you're like, okay, I'm glad I went. But the hard part was getting there.
Nobody regrets waking up early and going to the gym.
No, they regret waking up early.
Well, yeah, no, the end result
exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just walking out of the gym pissed, man, I shouldn't have come here.
Right,
like no, most of the time you've got that endorphin rush. You're happy that you got your ass there.
Exactly.
But you absolutely regret it when you're like, you sleep in, you're like, man, I should have gone. I should have gone.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what are some of the nutrition tips that you give a lot of your clients? Do you do that? Do you give like a nutrition plan?
Yeah, I do that. Now again, like, a lot of clients or a lot of coaches, sometimes they'll come up with like base nutrition plans, right? Like this is for a guy that weighs this is for like, I don't do that. Like mine are very, very in depth. And I kind of tell the client right away that, hey, the first few weeks or even couple weeks are going to be, I'm going to annoy you. I'm going to be texting you probably after every meal because I want to know, how do you feel after that meal? Do you feel bloated? Do you still feel really hungry? Could you not even finish it? All these things, because we're so busy through life, especially now with technology and stuff, we're just going. Like think about this, like how many times have you probably eaten at your desk, because you're doing work. You don't take time to just enjoy your food and see how you feel. We eat and then we just go and do something. So I want to help them slow down a little bit and see, well, what actually makes you feel good? What makes you tired? What makes you full? All these things, because I don't have the ability to say, hey, some people don't have the ability to say, hey, go spend $1,000 and find your allergies. Not even from like what's really allergic to you, but even what doesn't sit well with you. Like they have this thing where it's levels 1 through 5 and it shows you kind of what sits really well with you, and all the way to 5 is like this will break out in highs. But a lot of people eat the stuff that's like the 3, And a 3 doesn't show hives or anything. It just bloats you. You don't digest well. So I use
Is this like like a food allergy test?
Yep,
Okay.
it's a food allergy test. But a lot of people are like, I'm going to spend $1,000 on a food allergy test, and they do blood and all this stuff. So I just, for the next few weeks, like I'll give them for one day, like this is going to be boring, but you're only going to eat this carb. Because by the end of the day, you're going to know by eating that carb every single meal if it sat well with you or not. And then we'll see, I felt great all day. Like I had a lot of energy, it digested well. Okay, great. Like now when I eat this carb, oh man, like I'm bloated. I'm so full. I don't even want to eat my lunch. Like, okay, like you're kind of allergic to this. Your body doesn't like this food. It doesn't digest well. So mine's very in depth. I kind of find I individualize like what sits well with you. What are the foods you like? What is it you love? Because again, if I'm force feeding you food that one doesn't make you feel very well, or that you just don't like, oh, I know you don't like asparagus, but it's really good for you, man. You got to eat it every day. Like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Like there's always options to find a way to make it work for that individual. So yeah, my tip is always like, I'll give them a diet, but say they're not going to work with me. Just a tip in general is do one thing at a time. Remove juice, not like fruits, but like those concentrated juices, or remove soda. Like if you do those little minute things, like you'd be amazed how long you will progress. It's because again, we all have that as human beings. We want the stuff now, like right now. So when we make that decision of I'm going to do my fitness journey, I'm doing this, we go from not working out one day a week to eating whatever we want to following this diet that's 1,500 calories and working out 7 days a week. And we wonder why our energy plummets, why we're starving, and why we hit a plateau. It's because where do you go from there, right? You're working 7 days a week, 1,500 calories. When you plateau, what do? You do 2 days now? Do you drop down to 1,000 calories? There's really nowhere to go. So I try to teach people, start up here so you can slowly, gradually come down. And once we hit that plateau, or when we feel like, oh man, we're low, then it's when you reverse diet somebody. And you teach,
I was just going to ask that. Do you ever mess around with reverse dieting?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every client I work with, because I teach them that this is not down here where we got to. Nobody wants to live here.
No.
Nobody wants to live here. This is not fun.
1,200 calories a day, 1,000 calories a day.
You go out for one dinner, out to dinner. It's like, well, there's my 1,200 calories.
That's it.
So I reverse, because at the end of the day, I do metabolic resets. So that's what reverse diet does. Is I teach your body slowly as we increase calories that, wow, like I weigh the exact same at 1,200 calories. Now I'm eating 3,000 calories. If you do it slow enough and you do the right foods that we've already learned at the beginning of their journey that sit well with them, they can eat 3,000 calories a day and their energy skyrockets. And they're like, wow, like I have a girl who eats more than most of my guy clients. And she even says, like, she'll go to work and people are like, how do you eat all this food? But she's like a competitive athlete. She does CrossFit. She does Olympic lifting. She does on the national level. So she needs high energy. She's lifting crazy weight. But yeah, she eats so much food, man. And her weight doesn't move. It's amazing. It's wild. Yeah.
I don't understand how it works either, but I've seen a lot of success in my own diet with reverse dieting, and just taking that time to slowly come down in calories and really whittle away at the excess fat, and then being able to just reverse. And sometimes I would see, even in my reverse up, I would still see my body start to lean out still, and still lose that fat that I was trying to get. Like I said, I don't understand how it works. I don't know like the mechanics of it all, but it is a magical.
Well, and the simple way to put it, like the way I try to explain to clients, is like this. So your metabolism is like a car, right? If there's no gas in it, it ain't going to go nowhere. So, as you, or think about the type of gas, right? So unleaded versus premium. As you get lower calories, we start to put unleaded in our body because we're getting less of it. But all of a sudden we start increasing our calories. Now we're getting more energy. We're recovering better. So now your body has this energy to really break down that fat and like gives you the energy. And think about this, during your workout, they're probably working out way harder than they were on 1,200 calories because they feel that energy. And so their body is like, they're crushing their workout way more. Like I'll track people's caloric burn during their workout if they have the watch or whatever, and you'll see they burn an extra 200 calories. They did the same workout, but it's like, I just had the energy today, man. I was following the rest periods exactly, or I went up in weight, or I was going faster, all these things because they have this energy now. So that's the thing too, is what is your energy level compared to your caloric intake as well? Because that's a big thing. Like I tell people sometimes, like, hey, if you don't want to drop calories, then let's reduce the rest periods, or like let's increase your energy during your workout. Like focus on moving the calories around your workout. That's a big thing too, is when do you eat those calories? Or when do you eat your carbs, when you eat those certain macros. So sometimes I'll, move most of their calories around their workout. So then they have that energy during their workout to just crush it, because they're like, I'm getting all this food around my workout. Oh, I feel amazing. So it's also that too, just timing of when you eat your food. But again, that's the college level, right? Like the entry level or elementary level is just make right choices. That's the first level. Just make smarter choices.
So when you're switching somebody from a basic American diet to what you implement, as far as what are some of the things, like do you go more balanced, just a healthy portion of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, or do you lean more ketogenic? Do you lean more carbohydrate heavy, or is it just kind of on the individual?
Yeah, it's like, the last thing you said, kind of on the individual. Like I have traveling nurses and doctors I work with, and majority of them are on a fasted diet because they are constantly with patients. They work these 12, 15-hour shifts, and they're like, we try to do a different diet, and it becomes more stress than helpful. It's like, if they miss a meal, they feel guilty. Like, oh my gosh, I missed my meal. Like, I'm ruining this diet. And they get in their head, and it becomes more stress than help. So with somebody in that state, or even a lot of my CEOs that are very busy guys, like same thing, like they're on a fasted diet because I'm like, listen guys, just don't worry about it, right? When you get off work that night, you have 6 hours. Now let's get your calories in. And it seems to work for that individual. For athletes, wouldn't do that at all. But like I kind of make them like, listen, if you're gonna be an athlete and you want to compete at that level, you have to get food in all the time. Just food, because you're constantly performing. They're not sitting at a desk or anything. They're performing all day, every day. Even mentally, whether they're watching film, whatever it is, they're just constantly performing. So they need that energy all day, no matter what. So athletes is more of you may get 6-7 meals in a day, and they're about as big as somebody's normal meal. But again, I'd rather them perform better because that's their goal, is to perform, not so much look the best, right? So it just depends on what your end goal is and what works with your lifestyle. So yeah, it's definitely based on the individual for sure.
I've tried like a million different diets. I've been on my fitness journey for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. I was an athlete in high school, and but I really didn't start getting into like bodybuilding and lifting weights as hard as I did until about 7 years ago. And so I went in hard. I did the bodybuilder diet, just like chicken and broccoli, 6 meals a day, just that's all I ate, all the time. My buddy Josh always makes fun of me because we did a golf outing. We were in a tournament or something like that, and I brought 2 meal preps, and so I'm on the golf course, they're drinking beer and eating, sandwiches, and I'm eating my cold chicken and green beans and stuff like that. And I did that for a really, really long time, and I messed around with reverse dieting. But I mainly started with the foundation of lower carbohydrates, really, really high protein. Like I was trying to get like 300 grams of protein in a day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then, so I slowly switched from that into implementing more carbohydrates into my diet, which when I started doing that, like my workouts got way better. I was getting stronger. I really saw a difference in that. And that's when I started like tracking macronutrients and making sure I was getting appropriate amounts.
Yep.
And then I went like full bore into like, you don't need this much protein in your diet. I was, like I said, I was trying to get 300 grams of protein in one day.
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of protein.
Just to give you guys an idea, like if you're eating just a piece of chicken breast, right? Those ones that come prepackaged, that's like 4 ounces. That's 35 grams of protein. So think he's eating 10 of those a day, like to try to get that in. That's a lot of protein.
No, my chicken bill was ridiculous. Yeah. Chicken and steak all the time, but mainly chicken because it's cheap.
People are telling you, hey man, instead of going out on the weekends and going to the bars, like, Carl, you got to cut back on protein, man.
Exactly. No, it was one of those things like, I was seeing my body change. So I was like, okay, what I'm doing is working.
Yep.
But when I started switching more to like a carbohydrate heavier diet, I really saw a change as far as maintaining leanness and muscle mass, but being happier in life.
Yeah.
And so I would track all my calories, and I went down to like 150, 110 grams of protein in a day. And I was getting like 500 grams, 600 grams of carbohydrates in a day, and keeping the fats kind of moderate, like around 90, 80. And dude, first of all, my endurance level went up. My general happiness in life went up. I was eating,
more food.
It was just potatoes. Probably, yeah, exactly. Potatoes, pasta, things that I really, really love and was deprived of for years and years. Yeah. Or just, it wasn't that I really had like an unhealthy relationship with food. Now looking back at it, and I think a lot of people do.
Yes.
They're afraid of food.
Yes.
And I think that's a really bad relationship to have. with something that you need.
Yeah. Well, because think about it, right? Before you started your diet, you were eating those foods you enjoyed, but you weren't in the shape you wanted to be. So then you went to the extreme, which again, so many people do that. And then they saw these physical changes that they liked. So then they immediately make this connection in their head without even knowing it, that these foods make me be in bad shape. Only this food makes me look in good shape, because they didn't gradually do it. They went from one extreme to the other. So yeah, it creates this connection of these foods are bad for me. And so, yeah, like you said.
But even like, so I would be afraid to eat a banana because it had too many carbohydrates in it. Or sugar in it, and it was this really, really unhealthy, relationship with food. And then when I saw the changes that I was making with implementing pretty much whatever carbohydrate that I wanted, I stayed away from like French fries and stuff like that. I'd have my cheat meals on a weekly basis or whatever, and just
cheat meals are a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But so I did that for a really long time, and counting macros became a really, really, I identified it as a really unhealthy relationship with food.
Yep.
I'm literally weighing every single piece of food that comes into my body.
Yeah.
And I understand people that do it, because with, bodybuilders, they're trying to get, specific amounts of each macronutrient, but for the daily person that's not trying to step on stage, or an athlete that's, burning a lot was but again, and this is just my fitness journey and my nutrition journey. Like, I really was not, like I said, I had an unhealthy relationship with food. So one of the things I've been doing for the last 6 months is intermittent fasting. You talk about the CEO that, fasts all day.
Yep.
Like, I don't have time to eat throughout the day.
Yep.
So it's been really beneficial for me, because I'll do a 20-hour fast, 21-hour fast.
What did you start with, though? I'm curious. Where did you start? Did you start at 20 hours, or did you start at like 12?
No. I was doing so when I first started, I think I was doing a 16-8 split.
Okay.
So fasting for 16 hours, eating within 8 hours. So I was, breaking my fast around noon, 1 o'clock.
That's usually where I start people to do, is 14 to 16 hours. I just wanted to say that because some people are like, oh, you're doing 21? I'll do 21.
No, don't start with 21. Don't start there for sure. I mean, even
you'll get in way too many fights with your significant other or your friends or your boss or you'll be cranky.
So, they talk about circadian eating. So like eating within your circadian window, which is a 12-hour window.
Yep.
Like everybody should be doing that. You shouldn't be eating outside of a 12-hour window. And there's been a lot of research that come out through Dr. Rhonda Patrick and Walter Longo. They talk about eating outside of that 12-hour window. Your metabolism is reduced. You're basically resetting that metabolic cycle that's really, really bad for you. And so at the bare minimum, you should be eating within a 12-hour window and fasting for 12 hours. And so even just starting clients there, is it's just for overall health. It's not even for caloric restriction. It's just for health.
Yep.
But yeah, so it started to do a lot of research into intermittent fasting because of the health benefits. I'm a huge Rhonda Patrick fan. I think she's got incredible research. She's really, really intelligent when it comes to nutrition. And she really dives deep, and her podcast is insanely difficult to listen to because she's just so smart that I'm like,
you pause every sentence and start Googling something like,
what did you just say? When you have two doctors sitting across from each other talking and it's just like, I don't understand what you guys are talking about. But in further research and trying to break down what she's saying, it's really helped me with implementing intermittent fasting. That's what I've been doing for the last 6 months. And so basically, I started at the 16-8. And then I'm like, you know what? I can take this further. Like I can go all day.
Yeah.
I find myself really, really focused.
Yep.
I drink a couple cups of coffee throughout the day just to kind of curb my appetite and give me the energy that I need. The last hour, when I'm getting home and once I'm home, I'm like, I need to eat, So I am like an angry bear by the time I'm getting home. But what I'll do is I'll break my fast with a Rhonda Patrick smoothie, which is, it's this recipe that she put out, which is just basically gives you all your micronutrients for the day.
Yep.
So it's like kale, spinach, avocado, tomato, blueberries.
All the things.
Apple. It's a huge smoothie.
Yeah,
it's a huge smoothie. Carrots.
So hear that, guys. If you need a micronutri, just throw a bunch of random stuff in a blender.
It's literally like everything in your pantry. Like just throw it into this, you know, and I'll have that with some eggs and like sourdough bread, you know, and it's just a great, like, you know, micronutrient dense meal to break my fast with. And then I'll just kind of eat whatever I want for dinner. You know, I try to have a good amount of protein, a good amount of carbohydrates, a good amount of fat. Yeah. And like I said, I've been on that for like the last 6 months, and I am so much happier. Yeah. I'm not counting macros. It's been a really,
how many years have you been doing, let's say, your fitness journey? Like when you started, you said 7 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So again, like just think about that. Like anybody watching this, like Rick Ricardo, 6.5 years to find something that really, again, these worked for him physically, but he finally found something that, you know, now works for you mentally as well, right? Like, and physically. So now it keeps you physically in shape, but now mentally you have the energy, you're happier, you don't have to overthink it. So for you, it works amazing, right? So, and also I love that. I love to hear you say that you tried this and you started to like it, and then you listened to podcasts, you read about it, right? You invested yourself into this thing. Like, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to learn about it. I want to read about it. And I always love that about individuals. Like when they show interest into something, it's not just, well, I tried and I think it worked, or someone told me it was good. It's like, no, you did the research yourself. So
how many times? Yeah, exactly. Cause like how many times, like my dad will see I eat eggs and butter, and he's like, oh, that's so bad for you, isn't it? You know, the cholesterol. Yeah. You know, this was stuff that's been disproven for so long, but you see that happen all the time. You know, you have this misinformation.
Or with fruit, you hear it all the time too. Yeah. Like, oh, there's way too much sugar. I'm like, it's fruit. Like, it's really good for you. Again, don't get me wrong. Yes, you want to eat 10 bananas a day, but it's like blueberries, all those antioxidants, all those things are amazing for you. Like, just because it has sugar in it doesn't make it bad for you. It's actually so many, like you said, micronutrients in these things that are amazing for your body. So,
well, and not to mention like the difference between like your processed sugars and the intrinsic sugars that are in fruit. Those are two different things. That your body responds to them. The intrinsic sugars that are in fruit are paired with high amounts of fiber, which slow down, you know, your insulin response. Spike, you know, so there's it's just different. And you know, so but you see that happen so many times. People will pair those two things together and say, oh yeah, they're the same. You know, the sugar that you would eat in a goddamn Oreo is the same that you would get in a blueberry. No, it's different.
Well, and again though, but like, and this is why I believe in coaches wholeheartedly, not just because I'm a coach, you know, I mean coaches in life in general. I have 4 mentors in my life, and I'm sure you have mentors in your life as well. Like I have, again, I know nutrition and fitness. I have a nutrition coach because I know so much about nutrition. I will overthink it, and I will constantly sometimes make too many changes where, again, I'm so busy. I want sometimes somebody just tell me what to do. Just tell me what I need to eat. And I know enough that if somebody, the guy I work with, been working for 3 years. So like when he gives me something, I know it is good, but again, I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to think about it. Same with business. Like if somebody's like, hey, I can save you a year of headache by hiring this business coach to get me ahead, why would you not do that? Again, I always tell people like, don't come into working with me thinking I'm hiring this coach for life, because I don't even want that. I tell people the longest I let people work with me is a year. And then I actually make them go off on their own, because I'm like, listen, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about yourself within a year, that you'll be able to do this on your own. Again, this is your fitness journey. I don't want this to become a burden or stress financially. I want this to be something that this obviously is important to you, and I want this to become a part of your lifestyle. So let me teach you to get you way ahead, what works for you. I'll do all the trial and error. You just listen to what I say, and then we'll find out what works for you, so you're not stressed, you're not overthinking it, and then you just want to quit. So that's where I think coaches are amazing in life.
Well, I think what you do is you help people build a really strong foundation. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend anybody to do the diet that I'm doing now if they're not where they want to be. Yeah. I definitely see, like, I had these years of strong foundation, really strict dieting, making sure I was getting appropriate amounts of all these different types of food that fueled my training to get where I wanted to be ultimately. Yes. Yeah. So there is something to be said about strong foundations, and we're always looking for the easiest way out. You know, like, give me the easiest diet, give me this. That's gonna, and I think finding a diet that works for you is really important, because that's the diet you're most likely going to stick with.
Exactly. Like, because I'm not here to do quick, like, 60-day, 30-day things. Like, I'm here to teach you how to live a healthy lifestyle. Again, that's why I tell you all the time, it is called a fitness journey for a reason. It's not, this is a marathon. Like you said, ultra marathon, this isn't a sprint, you know, you have to learn the foundations and the basics to be able to carry those into your life moving forward, and be able to go on vacation and still not, gain 15 pounds on vacation. You know how to still eat the right foods to stay on track and feel good about yourself and have the energy. Again, make it a lifestyle, make it something that you still enjoy and you want to do. So, and that is right back to fitness, same thing, like make your workouts fun. Same thing, like you may be a sprinter, you may like explosive workouts or HIIT, you may like lifting heavy things, you may like yoga, you may like whatever it is. Find something that brings you enjoyment, that helps you drive to show up to the gym or helps you drive to go to the studio to do yoga. Whatever it is, find something that, again, you enjoy. So, and I think that's the same thing as nutrition, just what works for that individual that pushes them to add this healthy thing that's going to help them in other aspects of their life. Just what's a way to incorporate it in their life. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears here. Let's talk a little bit more about you as far as your past, where you grew up, what got you into more adventure training, hiking mountains and doing this stuff. Like, so, have you always been here in Florida, or did you?
No. So it's always funny. If I call people, I still have a Missouri number. So, Missourian right here.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I'm from a town called Mexico, Missouri. And people
that's
not real, right? People always laugh. I used to joke to people, like, hey, I'm from Mexico, without saying Missouri. They're like, what? You're from Mexico? And I'm like, no, Mexico, Missouri. But and people are always like, where is that? Like, where's that in relation? So
where's Missouri? I couldn't point that out on the map. It's somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. Well, you know where St. Louis, Missouri is, this is the one I always use, like Columbia, Missouri, where the Mizzou Tigers and Missouri Tigers are, the D1 school. I'm like, we're 35 minutes from that.
Okay.
People are like, okay, all right. I kind of have an idea now where you're at. But yeah, we were a town of 10,000 people. And I remember we moved a lot when I was a kid, a lot. So, but I lived there the longest. So I say I'm from there because I went to high school there and then stayed there for a few years of college. So, but I remember when I first moved there, the town was getting a Walmart, not a super Walmart, the basic Walmart,
the basic one,
the basic Walmart. And I showed up and I was like it's not that big a deal, guys. It's a Walmart. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, we had to go to Columbia to go to like grocery shop, or we had to drive 40 minutes. Like, this is a huge deal. Like, they had a ribbon cutting. The whole town was there. Oh,
the mayor was there.
It was just my first experience in Mexico, Missouri. And I just remember like, wow, this is hilarious, but it's amazing. Like, everybody knows everybody. There's good and bad to that, right? So having a big town, you can kind of get away with things. There, I remember I get pulled over, and while I'm still pulled over, friends would be calling me, "Hi, I just saw you." You're like,
so you literally can't get away with anything.
Can't get away with anything, but you build great relationships. I still go back a lot and see friends and see people, and like I want to do some work with the high school there, with the athletes there. I'm invested in that town. It helped me be who I am today, and I'm happy. I'm here now. I love Florida. Obviously, I'm not up there in that 10-degree weather.
So what's the landscape like there? What were the things that you would do outside? Is it mountainous? Is it more desert?
We would listen to the radio and drive on gravel roads.
Okay.
That
sounds awesome.
That was the extent of our fun right there. If you weren't in a sport, like, again, I was always in a sport until I got injured really bad in high school, which I don't think if I told you this, but when I was a freshman in high school or going into high school, I fractured my vertebrae, 2 vertebrae in my low back. Was playing football and took a helmet to my lower back and fractured my vertebrae. And I remember when I first got hit, I blacked out. So I don't know if it's because the nerves or my spine got compressed so hard, or the nerves just went out or whatever, but I don't even remember getting hit.
Jesus.
I just remember, we hiked the ball and next thing you know, I'm on the ground. Like, that's all I remember. And I wake up on the ground and everybody's surrounding me. They're calling the ambulance. Ambulance comes on the field and they're like, can you move your legs, move your toes? I'm like, no. And they're like, holy crap. My mom and them weren't even there. I never liked my parents in my games or any of my practices because I had this weird thing where I just felt like I was being pressured if people I cared about were watching. So I was just that way. So they got the call. My mom's flying to the field. So they rushed me to the ambulance, get me to the hospital. The old unscrewing the helmet, cutting off the pants, like, you know, and I'm freaking out. You know, I'm 15 or 14 at the time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna be able to walk again, you know. And I've been playing football since I was 5. I've been playing baseball since I was 6. Like, you know, my dream was to play some sport collegiately, and I'm like, it's all over. And I remember about 24 hours later, I can't remember what it's called. It's this crazy medical name, but what happens is your spine gets compressed so hard that your nerves just shut down to protect you. So it does to protect the spine. But they slowly start to come back, but not fast, right? They just slowly come back. So I could barely move my toes. And then I could kind of start feeling them pushing into my legs. But yeah, man, I had to relearn how to walk, relearn how to run again.
Jeez.
All those things. Like, I remember 15 feet to the bathroom from my bed, it would take me to get out of bed and to walk. And this is like 4 months later, like once I could just get up out of bed by myself, it would take me 20 minutes to walk 15 feet. Like, you know, where you can't even pick your feet up, you're just like shuffling your feet, just like half an inch at a time. But man, I got really good at building model cars though. I'll tell you what, I'd be sitting in the bed like every day, like, all right, I finished this one. Cause like, that's all I could do is just lay in bed and do model cars. But yeah, I had to go through physical therapy, you know, massage therapy, chiropractic. We tried everything. And that's where I kind of built this passion for fitness. And I think that's where I found the passion of mentality, is because I had to make a choice right there. Like, I could feel sorry for myself, and I could be mad, and I could be all these things and just be like, this isn't fair. Or I could take this as an opportunity that, hey, like, I want to walk in one day. I want to be an athlete again. Like, I want to do all those things I used to be able to do. So like, and I want to do it as fast as possible. So I don't care how many hours I have to do physical therapy, how much work I have to put in, but I'm going to do it all. And I just had that mentality. And it was about a year later, I was able to then like kind of jog again, but I would constantly throw my neck and back out because it was so weak. So I had to really build up my back and my neck and doing tons of isometrics, all these different exercises. But, you know, now I haven't thrown my back out or hurt myself or anything like that in 5 years, you know. So, you know, I'm good now.
So let's back up just a little bit. What was it like? You said it was about 24 hours before your vertebrae started to decompress a little bit, and
the nerve ending started to come back to life, and I could,
Were you awake for those?
Yeah. Longest 24 hours of my life, dude. Longest 24 hours for my parents. Like,
So what were the doctors saying at that time? Were they already?
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
Yeah. They didn't know. It's so rare. You know, so they were just like, we don't know why. Like, they just thought I was paralyzed, and they just kept doing tests, hitting the knee to see if it would do something.
From like the waist down.
Yeah, from the waist down. I can move my arms and everything like that, but yeah. And then they saw I was able to like move my toes. So like, okay, like he wouldn't be able to move his toes. Like, you would feel here first, not your toes. So he does have the ability. So like, once we saw that I could move my toes, it was like, okay, he's gonna be able to walk in one day, but this is going to be a long journey. It's going to be rough. Yeah. But yeah, those 24 hours, man, it was rough. It was a long 24 hours, but you learn a lot about yourself in those types of 24 hours. I tell you what.
And so you said it was about a year before you could actually start running again and doing physical activity, or?
Yeah, like athletic movements again. You know, I started like jogging again, probably. I'm stubborn, man. You know, like probably before I should have, but I was like, you know, it hurts, but I'm not going to get there fast if I don't push through the pain a little bit sometimes. So it was about 6 months later, I was like jogging again. But I remember I went back to school before that, and I couldn't sit because sitting put the pressure on my spine. I had to stand all day in school in the back of the class and take notes standing and stuff. But even just standing, I would get so much pain after a couple hours. You know, like, because I said it was like 4 or 5 months later, I could start just standing for long periods of time. But even that was just painful, man.
Were you on a lot of pain medication at the time?
I tried one, and I didn't like it. So I didn't take pain medication. I don't know. I've always never been, I'll take Advil and Tylenol, but I don't really put anything medicine-wise in my body. I just, you know, and again, everybody has their own thing, so I'm not saying anything is right or wrong, but I'm more of a let your body heal itself type of person. I don't want to not feel that pain because I know it's there. I want to feel it so that I know like when I am actually getting better or not. I feel like it's to me, I was like, I feel great right now that I'm on this, and I don't like that. Like, I want to know that there is pain there, so I know there's something I do have to work on. I don't know. That's the way.
It's just like hiding the problem as opposed to just dealing with it
and dealing with it. So I just felt like it almost having that pain or having that uncomfortableness drove me to keep putting in that work. Or if I was just constantly numbing the pain, then I would maybe then be like, I'm fine. You know,
it just hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, it just hurts a lot. But, you know, and that's where, like I said, you know, I got into fitness, I got into physical therapy, and that's where I found the passion for my new purpose in life. Was I want to do this for people. I want to work with people and individuals. And, I do a lot of rehab people that have come off of ACL tears. And after they go through PT, a lot of people, I work with bad knees, bad shoulders, all that stuff, because I can sincerely know where they're coming from. And I think people appreciate that too. Like, you don't know, you don't get it. I'm like, oh, I get it. I know the struggles you're going through mentally. Like, you used to be able to just play golf every day. Now you're going to have 6 months where you can't do the thing you love on the weekends. Like, I get it, man. So again, it goes back to the mentality of just don't give up. If you give up, you're going to be struggling to play golf the rest of your life. Let's just put in the work for a year and you'll be so happy you did. But people need that voice, because man, when you get in your own head, sometimes it can be a dark place
sure.
when you're in that place. So,
do you feel like facing that adversity at such a young age really set you up to have that mentality shift later on in life? Like,
100%. It's weird to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I hear people say it's a lot, and until you've experienced it, you're probably like, oh, it's bullcrap. But like, I'm thankful for everything that's happened in my life. I really am, because man, I'm doing something I love. I'm working with people I love. I'm doing all the things I love in my life, and it's all because of those things. Like, you see, I'm 5'10", man. I'm 5'10", I'm 185 pounds. Like, even if I would have played at the college level, I wasn't going to that next level. I'm not built that way. At least on football. And that was the one I loved the most, maybe like a kicker or something, but, so maybe it was a blessing in disguise that, I look at it as, this is a way that, this is a great path for you, but this is your purpose. This is your path. You're meant to help people and work with people. And that's how I took this adversity of, this is just a switch in my path. That's all it is. This is just a way for me to grow and be able to connect with people at a young age of what it feels like to go through this and what it is to have a strong mind, because it happened at such a young age. Like, I'm 27 now, and I'll talk to people and they're like, dude, you're like, it's like you're 40, like your mentality is like just so much older. But I had to mature at a very young age. And like I said, we moved a lot, like every 8 months. So I was making...
Were you like, was your dad in the military or something?
Well, he was in construction. So he did a lot of construction all the way until I was 9. And then my parents split. And then my mom was constantly moving us from when I was 9 until I was, 12, and we moved to Missouri. So, for a solid 12, 13 years of my life, like every 7, 8 months, it was like new school. So yeah, when you're that young and you're constantly moving, you learn how to either just make friends or just be like, well, I know I'm moving in 6 months, so whatever. And that mentality you said where somebody says you can't do something, or people kind of like try to put you down. I dealt with that every 6 months, new kid in school. Every time I showed up to school, there was always that big kid that was like, try to put you in your place. So, which again, I'm not saying kids to do this, but I had a choice, either just be the victim or get in trouble that one time and nobody messed with me for 7 months.
There you go. It's like in prison. Go after the biggest guy, punch him. Like nobody's going to mess with him.
Like he would mess with me, and then we would get in this fight. And then luckily, since I was new, they're always like, well, he's new, so maybe he's just going through a lot. We'll let him, let it pass this time. But then nobody messed with me. So I was like, okay, I'll actually enjoy this next 6 months. I learned that the hard way. The first 2 schools I went to, I just got beat up and was a victim. And I'm like, so everybody would pick on me. I'm like, all right, I got to change this. So yeah, a lot of adversity, like you said, at a young age. And so yeah, I think it's definitely helped me for where I am at today. And it helps me, again, relate with people, because that's my biggest thing is, if you're a trainer, even as a CEO, I think that's why we connected so much is I think your vision for your company and your care and your heart and everything that's in your company. Because, this brand is a part of you. I think made me just immediately fall in love with what your vision is, and made me want to be, sit here today and just have this conversation, because, that's what it's all about is, helping others and really having a purpose in life. So,
well, I had the same immediate connection with you. Your drive, your passion for what you do, and your love for training and helping people is really inspiring. So what is, you're called the Adventure Trainer.
Yeah.
That's your nickname, which is great. I love that. So you're the Adventure Trainer. You talked about Mount Baker in Seattle. What are some of your highlight reel? Like, what are some of your favorite adventures that you've been on, whether it's yourself or ones that you've taken your clients through? Some of the most like extreme or whatever, like just ones that really stick out in your mind.
I think the first two that pop in my mind were Mount Baker's definitely one because it was my first one, and I did one of those typical. I didn't train for it. I was just doing my normal working out, and I just showed up. And
were you guys having to use like ropes and stuff like that to get?
Oh yeah, we were all roped in because there was oh my gosh, I just blanked out. What do they call the big gashes in the mountain? Crevasses, where you can just fall 50 feet into the mountain. So everybody's, locked in. You have an ice axe. If somebody falls, it's up to your crew who's roped in with you to fall and ice axe into the mountain, because if they don't, then they're going down with you because everybody's trapped in together. So it is truly one of those things that you're in this as a team, because if you're not paying attention, you're not alert, like you could cost somebody else their life, so, and that's a more extreme one. So there are ones that aren't as, crazy or difficult or scary, but Mount Baker's definitely one. And I think another adventure, which I don't train people for this type of adventure, but it was, I went on with some clients, was, we went to Colorado, and we went to the Colorado River right when the, mountains are melting in May, and we went whitewater rafting. And, it goes up to 5, 6, maybe 6, but I don't think they let people that aren't guides go on 6s, right? They have to, 5 is the highest you can go when you're whitewater rafting, as far as like how the waters are and how rough it is. Well, the whole time it was like a 6-hour thing. We stopped twice because we're all dying and exhausted. It was nothing but 4s and 5s. And I remember the last strip was about, 25, 30 minutes. And the guy goes, it's nothing but 5s. Like, we can stop here or we can keep going. And of course my mind is like, I'm not quitting now. I just went all through all this, like, but I'm with other people. So I'm like, what do you guys want to do? And I'm kind of hinting, I want to go. I'm like, yeah, man, we made it this far, guys, but whatever you want to do, but we are here, so like trying to
might as well do it. Yeah.
But we did it, and it was the scariest and also hardest thing I've ever done. Like, that is truly one of those, your adrenaline takes over because you're exhausted, man. Like, but you're paddling literally for your life, because they tell you on this one, when you sign up, they make you sign a waiver. Basically, if you die, we're not responsible. And they're like, listen, there's no, hey, if you fall out, roll over on your back and just float down the river. They go, no, if you fall out, you swim with everything you have to the bank. Like, whatever you have left in your body, you have to swim as hard as you can, because there's no one out here to save you. There's no kayaks. We're not going to come and grab you. Like, if you fall out of the boat, you're swimming for your life. Like, I was like, okay.
I've only been whitewater rafting once in my life. We did the we went in was it Georgia, where the Olympic river that they had there.
Yep.
And the whole time I remember thinking, we're not driving this boat. Like, the river, we're just kind of flowing along with wherever the river's kind of taking us.
Yeah.
And I remember the guide was like, the biggest thing was to not try to stand up.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you try to stand up, there's so many rocks and stuff like that. If your feet get wedged and the river's flowing so hard, you'll literally be pushed forward and drown.
Yeah. Well, and on the East Coast, a lot of the rocks there's not so much on the West Coast, but because of how much more salt in the water here, or like we're more on the edge, like coming from the ocean. So like Virginia, West Virginia, they have rocks where they have holes in them, but they don't come out the other side. So it's like you just get sucked into this thing. You're like, the pressure is pushing you, but you're not coming out the other side. It's the same thing,
It was terrifying. Yeah. We did you guys do like riding the bull, where you like sit on the front of the raft?
Not on that one. Okay. But I've been on other ones that are less intense. Yeah, on that one they're like, no, you're not riding no bull out here.
Yeah, no, you're staying strapped in.
You're strapped in, and you're just paddling for your life. I'm not here to scare you guys. Like, it's an amazing.
No, it was awesome.
That one was an amazing adventure, and like there's ones that are beginner level, obviously, but yeah, like I've rode the bull a few times. It's fun, man. Because on those ones, if you fall out, like you float for about 2 minutes, and then you're at like a kind of close place where you can just float and relax. It was fun. Did you ride the bull?
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't as intense river. I think there was like 1 4 or 2 4s or something like that.
But how cool is it though? Like,
it's awesome. No, you're on the edge. Like, you feel like you're 15 feet in the air.
Do you have a picture?
No, I don't have one. No, but
that'd be cool.
It was a lot of fun. My wife and my father-in-law, we all went, and it was a ton of fun. I haven't done it since, but it was a lot of fun.
I think one of my favorite adventures that wasn't so much for me, it was for a client. One of my first clients when I started really getting into training people for adventures. One of my really good friends, Randy Myers. Anybody that knows me or knows my business, he's a big face of it as well, because he's invested in my business, and he lost over 100 pounds. So when I started working with him, I was like, same thing. I was like, listen, we're gonna do a 1-year transformation. And my question was, what is something that you have always wanted to do, but you feel you could never do, that like is impossible? He's like, man, I could never do one of those Spartans or Tough Mudder races. I could never do, like, there's just no way I could ever do it. I said, all right, so 1 year from this date, we're going to do one. And I remember we did it. It was a year later. He's in Missouri still. I was down in Florida. I flew up and we bought a race. It was a Tough Mudder.
I was going to ask which one. Tough Mudder.
Yeah, it was Tough Mudder. And we went through the whole race, and same thing, man. When he crossed that finish line after a year of just working his butt off, he'd lost 110 pounds. I mean, amazing journey alone. But then for him to do something that literally we had him saying that he could never do this, it is impossible, but I would be so cool if one day I could actually do something like that. To just a year later do something that you once thought was impossible and now do it just in 1 year, 365 days later. Again, just springboarded him into this rush of, I want to chase that the rest of my life. I want to chase these adventures. I want to chase that feeling of accomplishing something, seeing my work put in directly relate to this, right? You get that feeling back of, I put in all this effort and here's this rush, this feeling, this thing. Because not only did he think it was impossible, a lot of people probably thought it was impossible for him as well, right? If he was like, I'm gonna go do this, people were like, oh, you can't do that, man. I'm like, you shouldn't do that. And it's to protect him, I'm sure. But that was one of my favorite adventures, was being able to fly up there and be a part of that whole experience, running it through with him, climbing over walls with him, balancing, jumping off, swinging on ropes with him, just seeing this guy do these athletic things that I knew he'd always dreamt of wanting to be able to do, because he was overweight his whole life. Was amazing. And now, I mean, the kid is in amazing shape now. He's run half marathons. He's going on a mountain climb with me. He's done multiple obstacle course races. I mean, he's doing all the things. And now he's one of the most athletic people I know. And some of my friends listening, like, same thing, like, he's more athletic than some of our friends that were athletes in high school now, and just because, again, he's found a why and a purpose. So it's pretty cool.
And it is amazing how your mind kind of, initially you need that why to get you out of where you are. But then it just becomes instinctual. Yep. Like it
becomes a want, not a need.
Exactly.
Like, I want to do this.
Yeah. There's no second thought. Like, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. Like, that's not, I don't lay in bed. I'm like, am I going to the gym? Like, no, we're getting up.
Yep.
It's time to go.
You made your mind up.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't happen overnight, for sure. Like, it's definitely that from kindergarten to college, like, it's a mindset that it takes a long time to get to. Yeah. But once you're there, it becomes easier. It just becomes a part of your life. So I always encourage people with that as well. It's like, it will never be this hard ever again.
Yes, exactly.
Day 1, day 3, day 6, those are the hardest days. Yep. But when you're at the year mark, 2-year mark, 3-year mark, and it's become so ingrained into your psyche and so a part of your life, it's not a second thought. Yep. It feels off when you don't go to the gym. Mm-hmm. You feel like, I don't like this feeling.
How much has fitness, and be honest, like, because I know personally for me, I have my own opinion, but how much did fitness help you with starting your business?
Oh, everything. Yeah. Fitness gave me a mindset of, first of all, not immediate gratification. Yeah. Because there is no immediate gratification in fitness. Yep. Your body takes a long time to change, especially when you have very, very lofty goals of how you want your body to look. Mm-hmm. The athletic mindset is just different. And this happens within sports. It happens with even just bodybuilding and that kind of stuff. There's this mentality of, I'm going to go through a lot of pain because it's going to be worth it in the end, and I'm going to feel better. And that's something that's not instinctual. I don't think for a lot of people, but in the athlete mind, we understand, like, the pain is going to bring us where we want to go. Yep. And I talk about that a lot with business. Like, there was adversity, there was pain, there was a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It took 2 years to get the clothing company off the ground. But in the end, I knew it would be worth it. And I don't think, if I didn't have that athletic mindset instilled in me at such a early age, I don't know that I would be where I want to be in business if it wasn't for that. So I 100% agree. Like, that athletic mindset is really, really important.
When it goes back to that quote, your pain today is your strength tomorrow.
Exactly.
And that's 100% true. And I believe that full-heartedly. And kind of going back to, again, the business thing, when you started your business, like you said, the adversity, the knowing to push through, but the biggest thing is, like, with fitness, it's probably one of the few things in your life that is literally only on you. Like I said, you can hire a coach and I can give you the tools, I can give you the knowledge, I can give you all these things, but it's up to you. Like it's literally not up to anybody else. Like you can have a job where, you have an assistant, or, hey, this person also is selling, right? It's kind of on other people, but it is the one thing where if you don't complete this, it's on you. And I think that's why people grow so much internally during that journey, because they realize that there was no help during that. I'm the one that showed up. I'm the one that ate the right foods. I'm the one that worked out. I'm the one that put in this effort. I'm the one that woke up early. I'm the one that did all these things. I made these choices and I reaped the rewards. And it wasn't because something was given to me. It wasn't because I took shortcuts. Like you said, there are no shortcuts and nobody can give you these things. It's one of the few things in life that literally falls on just you. And I think that's another reason why I think it's such an important journey that everybody goes on. Yeah. Because you grow so much, because again, it's on nobody but you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, do you read a lot? I feel like you...
I do a ton of audiobooks. I do read. I used to read, but I was like, I'm a slow reader because I'm a note taker, man. Like I'll read a book 3 times because I'll read it. And then I'm like, cool, I got about 10% of that book. So then I'll go back and read it again. I'll highlight and I'll highlight everything that's like, I feel like hits me hard, or is used to me. And then I'll go back again and then I'll write the notes of the stuff I highlighted. Because I read like nothing but nonfiction. I like reading things I can immediately apply. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I don't recommend books because people are like, dude, that sounds boring as heck. Like I do not want to read that type of book. But I read everything that applies to me right now, whether it's business, health, whatever it is. But I love reading, but now because I just love the convenience of when I'm working out, driving, whatever, I listen to audiobooks.
Yeah, Audible is great.
All the time. I love it.
Yeah. So basically my process is I will listen to a book on Audible, and if I like it enough, I'll buy it. Okay. And then I'll reread it. And that just seems to help me like retain more.
Do you like the touch of a book? Is that why I like just the feel?
Mm-hmm. I like to feel like I'm reading a book. I don't like Kindles or anything like that.
I'm the same way,
And just like being able to highlight, being able to take notes. And I know you can do a lot of that in the new like updated Kindles, but
but I'm the same way.
Yeah, for me, I like to feel the paper.
I like
this.
Too.
The satisfaction of like turning the page, And but so what has been, let's say in the last year, what has been the book that stands out to you as far as being instrumental in your process, in your life?
One book that I recommend everybody in their life to read at some point is Daring Greatly.
Greatly
by Brene Brown. You ever listen?
No.
Brene Brown, actually. Sorry.
I've heard of that.
Brene Brown. Yeah. And Lewis Howes, he created a book, it's called Mask of Masculinity. It's a very similar message, but it's more directed towards men. So Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes is an amazing book as well. But the first one I read was Brene Brown, called Daring Greatly. And the reason why both those books connect with me on such a deep level is because it teaches vulnerability. And I think the more vulnerable we can be, the more people can connect with us, but the more people can understand us. And the more that we just build confidence, because I think we create these thoughts in our head that, well, if people knew this about me, they would think less. Or if I asked for that raise at work, I'm going to be fired. Or I think it just teaches you the confidence to believe in yourself, to ask for that raise, to go after that dream and that goal. It just teaches you to be vulnerable with yourself. And it also teaches loyalty. And usually when I ask people, like, what does loyalty mean to you? They always direct it towards other people. Like, it means like being loyal to your friends and being there for them and having their back and there for your family. And yes, that is 100% true, but it doesn't distinctify that in a definition. It just means sticking to something that means a lot to you, but it means being loyal to yourself. Like if you say you're going to do something, teach your mind that you're loyal to yourself. Like I'm a man of my own word. Like if I say I'm going to show up on time, show up on time. If you're going to set a goal, finish that goal, because you're teaching bad habits. If you are 5 minutes late, or if you don't complete that goal, you are teaching your body and your mind bad habits, that it's okay to quit, or it's okay to be late. It's okay to not do these things. So I think the most important things to me, or some of my biggest values, are being vulnerable and being loyal, not only to people, but to myself.
So I love it.
Yeah, you
so Mask of Masculinity?
Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes, and then Brene Brown, Daring Greatly.
Daring Greatly. All right, I'm going to add them.
Yeah, your wife, Daring Greatly, it'll be one of her favorite books, I promise.
Okay.
I promise.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what's next for Chase?
What's next? Some big mountain climbs coming up.
Okay. What are some of the mountain climbs you're going?
Well, the first thing I'm doing is still winter is I'm leaving this Saturday to go on another snowboarding trip with some clients and friends. So we're going to Utah, Montana, and Wyoming. We're hitting Big Sky, Jackson Hole, Salt Lake City, Park City, doing some snowboarding. Again, I just love being outside and movement. I'm doing a awesome mountain climb in August called the Ptarmigan Traverse. It's in Washington State again, but it's more for clients. It's 7 days long. We're bringing a videographer because I want people to see the whole experience.
Yeah.
You know, I share it all the time, and people, I think, either get too scared by it or they want to know more about it, and it's hard to have somebody there that long. But I'm bringing Tyler McCool on the trip with me, and he's going to video the whole 7 days, and we're going to create some amazing videos just to show people cooking at night, setting up, showing the full experience and what it's all about. And then next January, we're going to South America to do one of the 7 summits. And then
is that one of it's like the 7 summits on 7 continents?
Yep. So it's Aconcagua is what it's called.
Okay.
It's the biggest mountain on that continent. And then my ultimate goal with climbing is doing Denali in Alaska.
Oh yeah, that place is ridiculous.
It has the lowest summit rate of any of the 7 summits, because even Everest now.
I was gonna say even over Everest,
because now that Everest is so popular and they've climbed it so many times. They know the routes now. Not saying it's not dangerous. It's still one of the most dangerous mountains you can climb, but
it's much more touristy than it used to be. Yeah.
It's been done so many times now. The rate is a lot higher, and there's a lot less likely for big storms over there. Denali in Alaska, there's so many storms because that come right over the mountains that they're unpredictable. So, Brian, the guy that is my guide for all my mountain climbs that I hire, he told me he's done it twice and he's summited it twice. So I'm like, all right, you got 100% success rate. So come on, man, let's make it 3 for 3. He said on his last climb, it's 40 days on the mountain, 45 days you're out there on this mountain.
Jeez.
And you're pulling a 100-pound sled and you're carrying an 80-pound pack while you're going up a mountain and for 45 days. And he said last year they got stuck in a tent because of a blizzard for 7 days. He said,
what do you do?
He said that's the thing. He goes, that's why he feels Denali is the hardest mountain, is because he said mentally it's the hardest mountain. He was like, when you have to sit in a 3x3 tent for 7 days, he's like, mentally you better have some good conversations.
Yeah, you're not playing on your phone for 7 days.
You're gonna be in a good place because you're gonna be in your head a lot. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is everything you bring is weight. So you always have to be smart too on what you bring, because they always tell us nah, man, don't bring that book. I know it's only 2 pounds or it's only a pound or whatever, but it all adds up. But we always, on those types of trips, we'll bring one because I have something, man. If this happens, or I always bring deck of cards that are they make some for mountain climbs that one can't get wet or super light, and so you bring these little things. I remember our last mountain climb, we played poker and stuff, and gin rummy or whatever, just trying to pass time, on the days where a storm
you just gotta have to wait it out.
Yeah.
What's the avalanches like on Denali? Do they have that?
I'm sure they do. Maybe I'm avoiding reading into that right now until it gets closer. Yeah. No, I'm sure they do. But with all these bigger climbs, you have a helicopter service that you pay for. So if something happens, you have somebody that can come in.
Yeah, but shit though. I mean, if an avalanche comes, there's no calling a helicopter.
No, you throw the peace sign that, it was fun.
It's a hell of a way to go out.
Yeah, right.
Doing what you love though.
So yeah, I think when you ask, to kind of get back to your question, when you ask, what's ahead for Chase, honestly, it's continuing to grow my adventure company so that I can just reach as many people as possible. I think, again, I believe in so many people. I believe in everybody. I think everybody has that drive in them to be their best self. So I just want to help people find that and find that purpose, find that why in life. Because I think if you find it within your fitness journey, you'll start to find it within your career, within your life. And so it's just connect with more people and continue to show people that, I'm asking you to live this life, but I'm living it too. It's not like I've never done an adventure and I'm saying, go do these adventures. I'm living that life and I'm reaping the rewards of how I feel and how my life is, and I think everybody has the ability to live that same life. So
that's incredible. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the O&S podcast. Yeah. It was a really great conversation, and I'm really excited. Maybe I'll go on one of those mountain hikes.
I was just about to say, I was like, I'm making you come on one. Come on.
We'll do a smaller mountain. We'll do Celery Fields or something.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, man.
Of course, man.